Let's talk about monkeypox and San Francisco. What do the two of them have to do with one another, and why is it that San Francisco has declared a state of emergency over monkeypox? Well, if you know anything about monkeypox, you will probably have a little bit of a guess as to what that is. Do you know anything about monkeypox?
I know enough.
You know enough.
I know enough to know I don't want it and how to potentially avoid it.
It doesn't actually seem that difficult to avoid getting, does it?
Well, I've had to reduce a lot of my hobbies, Harry.
A lot of your weekend orgies missed out on.
I've had to tone it right down.
Heartbreaking. So I'll just explain what monkeypox is. So the symptoms are monkeypox often begins as flu-like symptoms. It also appears as a distinctive rash or sores or spots that can look like pimples or blisters on anywhere on the body, especially on the genital area, and that will be relevant in a moment. Spots can also be inside the rectum or butt, also relevant. On fingers or in the mouth or eyes, also relevant.
Apologies to anyone having their lunch at the moment.
No, you deserve it. You know what I'm like when I'm on the podcast. I torture everybody. Generally, the spots start as red and then become bumps, and when they're bumps, they become filled with pus, and then the pus bumps then breaks and crosses over into a scab, and the scabs may be itchy. So not particularly nice. Doesn't seem particularly life-threatening. I think it is related to smallpox, and therefore, if you already have some pretty bad underlying health conditions, it can be potentially fatal, but it seems like we know enough about it and to say that for the vast 99.9% of people, it's not going to be fatal. It will just be unpleasant. And how it spreads is very important to the subjects that we're going to be getting onto. So monkeypox spreads through prolonged skin-to-skin contact. Contact includes sex, kissing, breathing at very close range, sharing bedding and clothing. And they make point on the San Francisco government website here, where I've got this information from, to say, if you have sex or close physical contact with many people, emphasis on many people, you have a higher chance of getting monkeypox. So we can tell by saying, emphasizing that many people there, that it might be targeting a particular community.
Many people.
And I'm sure many of them are fine people. And they say at the top of the page, monkeypox local health emergency declared. On July 28th, 2022, the San Francisco Public Health Director issued a local public health emergency for monkeypox to harness resources, including efforts to obtain additional vaccine supply. This will allow them and other health providers to prepare for an increase in cases and direct resources to testing, treatment, vaccination, and community awareness. And why is it that they may need all of this preparedness? Well, it's because in San Francisco, Pride Month is not less a month and more a state of being that everyone is in constantly 24/7 with all of the repercussions that may come with that. They've also had some issues with the monkeypox vaccine, which is the Jynneos, I think I pronounced that correct, vaccine, which is indicated for prevention of smallpox and monkeypox disease in adults. However, since no vaccine is 100% effective, they go on to say it's important for individuals to reduce their risk of potential exposures to monkeypox both before and after being vaccinated, which is going to be a fat chance as we go on. And they are having supply problems because it is very popular to try and get a hold of this monkeypox vaccine in San Francisco and other parts of California, even New York as well. At the moment, a supply dictates monkeypox vaccine is by appointment at clinics through the city. And as of 3rd of August, one of the Vax clinics at 1001 Patero Building 30 is closed for walk-ins due to lack of supply. And it seems that this is something that might be affecting a few of the clinics around San Francisco. So, with it being spread through skin-to-skin contact, and that's the way you transmit it, how is it spreading so fast, potentially, or creating so much worry as to beat out the supply of the vaccine? Because I think in San Francisco, I think there's 800 confirmed cases. Well, it's because it's horny gay guys who are getting it and refusing to stop having sex to avoid potentially getting it. So
so when you said that, a picture of Callum and Carl just popped up on the screen. Was that coincidence?
It may or may not be.
Is there something I need to know?
I'm kind of sad that you've chosen to use this image rather than the thumbnail, John, primarily because if I had to see the thumbnail, everybody else has to see it as well. Anyway, we did a video on this on my birthday of all days, so thanks for that, Carl and Callum. Good present right there, lads. But this is them talking about the monkeypox outbreak and some of the details around it, and in particular, looking at how it does seem to be pretty much entirely gay men who are getting monkeypox from the figures that we've been seeing. And also, one of the stories that went viral on Twitter from a man who then later protected all of the tweets on his Twitter account, explaining exactly how he got it. They read through it in this, but just as a pleasant reminder for everybody, I'll just go through the details. And I'm sorry about this, Nick. If you start to go a little bit green, I'll get John to adjust the camera.
I remember the thread well, don't worry.
Oh yes, there we go.
It's scarred on my memory.
But for those of you who may not have seen it or may have just forgotten, here's a helpful reminder. So I finally got into the swing of things and attended a friend's birthday orgy. Great start.
Is this the thread now? Is this just you telling me something? We started the...
dealer's choice, really. Make up your own mind about that. I've been watching the news on monkeypox, but the general feelings on it were, and still are, developing by the day. So I, nor anybody else, was especially worried. I obviously casually just calmly go into many birthday orgies on the weekend. It's just what me and the lads do. So I attend the orgy. I mean, to be fair, have you seen women up north? So I attend the orgy, have a great time, guzzled a metric F-ton of human piss.
I'm sorry, what?
You heard me.
My problem there, just quickly, is when your metric is tons. You know what I mean? You're already
You
in
don't
trouble.
typically measure liquid in tons,
Right.
so this must have been quite a lot.
An excessive amount.
Yeah, I think I had sexual contact with around 15 men. He's a bit unsure about that, as you do. You just not entirely sure. And it also does imply the possibility that he could have been more. It could have been
I think
any
he said
amount.
15 to 20 in another bit as well.
Oh, did he? Oh,
Yeah, he
good
gives
God.
a range.
Similar to the orgy on Saturday, because this is just a regular thing in some communities. Had a great time, met some great people, then stumbled my piss-drunk ass back home. What a wholesome story. My 2 cents... Of course, this man later turned out to have monkeypox. My 2 cents... It's reductive to tell gay men to not have sex. It didn't work in the early days of AIDS, and clearly it's not working now. But do your best to make educated choices. Check your county's case numbers frequently, and if you can, avoid groups and anon encounters. Now, if you were making educated choices, you wouldn't be going to upwards of 15 men weekend orgies, I would say, or guzzling people's piss.
Firstly, the word reductive is doing a lot of work there.
It really is. I love the implication here. If it's like, if AIDS can't stop us, good luck with monkeypox.
Reductive. But then the bit at the end, try not to have group or anonymous sex. That's decent advice at any time.
Even for if it's non-gay encounters, just like men and women or anybody, women and women, just don't do that.
Maybe know who the person is. Is that a reasonable baseline?
Maybe we should have some standards for sex beyond I just want it right now.
I know your name.
Maybe not even. Maybe not, because I think the implication, of course, is that the gays are going to form an ever-expanding orgy that will end up engulfing the world, although I do think that would be a good potential suggestion to block the southern border. Just a gigantic gay orgy.
I hadn't thought of that.
It'll keep
beautiful orgy.
It'll keep the Catholics away from Mexico, won't it?
Great point.
There you go. And it solves many problems. I mean, I only just found out the other day, and I don't know if you know about this, but I only just heard about the concept called cruising.
You've only just heard about that. Harry, you've had a sheltered life in North.
Sadly, I mean, when I've been walking through parks and enjoying the beautiful Greenland we have up north sometimes, I've never stopped to think to myself, I wonder if there's gay guys screwing in bushes around here anywhere.
But I'm almost certain you've been cruised. I mean, people have probably looked at you and...
They might have done, actually, yeah. But yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know what cruising is, you as a gay man go to a public park where you know other anonymous gay men, go around and you cruise out one another, and once you've determined that, yes, I am willing, you go into a bush and do the dirty deed, which...
Someone once told me even a phone box, I can't say who that was, but...
Was it Leo?
It wasn't. We can rule him out.
All right. Was it Tom?
I don't know Tom that well, but there's many places. That's one of them. Well, that's quite an old school one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean...
You don't have that anymore.
Up north, all I see in the phone boxes are homeless crackheads smoking crack. At least that's in Manchester, anyway.
Decline of the West.
But yeah, so it's very strange that people seem to be just approaching this from well, I might be putting myself in danger, but I'm going to do it anyway, especially given the past 2 years of being hysterically shrieked at to stay indoors or else you're killing people. It's very interesting to see those same people say, well, just do what you want, who cares about personal responsibility?
That bothers me a little bit because you can't imagine a lockdown suggested just for gay people. You know, people like Andrew Neil was saying we need to punish the unvaccinated. Imagine all the same rhetoric, but just for gay people. Imagine the articles like, oh, we should have straight passports with QR codes. You know, how well would that go down?
It probably wouldn't. But, so just to confirm, I got this article from the Daily Signal, just called Monkeypox Primarily Affects Gay Men. Why are we scared to say it? And yes, among a lot of mainstream media outlets, it does seem to be breaking a little bit over the past few days, but mostly mainstream media outlets have been saying that it's something that anybody can catch. It's the sort of thing that you can go out just in the street and catch randomly and then come home and give it to the rest of your family as well. Just discuss. And at that point, I question what you're doing with your family. Perhaps you're all a little bit too close. But it does seem to be primarily affecting gay men. As it says, monkeypox has hit America particularly hard. Our nation has the most recorded cases on Earth, with nearly a third centralized in New York City.
And 80% of those at the Liza Minnelli concert. No one knows why.
Who could ever guess? A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine reported that 98% of those affected around the world were gay or bisexual men who were having sex with other men. I mean, there you go. The World Health Organization chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said the stigma and discrimination can be as dangerous as any virus. Okay. And can fuel the outbreak. So if we tell gay people stop having sex, that'll just encourage them to go and have more sex. We're just going to create the problem. So the obvious...
that's reductive.
The obvious solution is to just let them do what they want. I mean, I'm all for personal liberty, but I think that should come with a hefty dose of personal responsibility. And it seems that certain people are not taking that for themselves. As we've seen with the COVID-19 misinformation... This information can spread rapidly online. For men who have sex with men, this includes, for the moment, reducing your number of sexual partners, reconsidering considering sex with new partners, and exchanging contact details with any new partners to enable follow-up if needed. I love the implication of all of this, which is that all these gay men, and sadly it seems that in places like San Francisco and New York, it is the case, are just going out having sex with randos and not even exchanging numbers or names with them. So
yeah, but we should say, just for a sort of health warning, the other way you can get it apart from being gay is being injected by Suge Knight. Is the other way you can actually get it. Just wanted to flag that. I'm so sorry. Only some people will get that, but
yeah, well, but the fact they're going so lightly about it is they don't want to offend marginalized communities, because in the same way that you support the current women, this is, as always, the current thing. These are the protected class. You're not allowed to say anything disparaging about anybody within the alphabet mafia right now, because these marginalized people are, of course, the ones getting preferential treatment, which makes perfect sense that they can be both at the same time, I'm sure. And I went on Twitter and just typed in the search bar monkeypox to see what people were saying. So many people have no idea. They just think monkeypox is COVID 2.0. They think it is the sort of thing that you can just get if you just walk out onto the street and pass by people, whereas they're completely fear-mongering, and instead of recognizing that it is one very specific demographic about this, except for this, where the CDC confirmed the first US cases of monkeypox in children. And I thought, okay, maybe they'll have some exceptional circumstances for why these kids got monkeypox, other than what I'm concerned it might have been, given the circumstances we've seen so far. No, it's exactly what I worried about. It says here, the US confirmed the first 2 cases of monkeypox in children. Why it matters, the CDC has said children, especially those under 8 years old, are among those at especially increased risk for severe monkeypox disease. So that's a bad sign in the first place. What she's saying as well, both of these children are traced back to individuals who come from the men who have sex with men community, the gay men community. That's quite concerning, isn't it? And it seems to be a little bit brushed over here. But happily, both children are doing well, and in a statement, the CDC said that the cases are unrelated to one another and that both are the likely result of household transmission. That seems to contradict a little bit of what was said before. Epidemiologists have warned that the risk isn't limited to any one community, and that somebody who's not gay can get it just as easily as someone who is gay, presumably if you get stuck in your washing machine.
Yeah, not just as easily. I mean, basically not.
not just as easily. No, and there was a Guardian article which I found hilarious from yesterday or the day before. Monkeypox is just the latest virus to threaten gay intimacy. Decades after the AIDS pandemic began, we still haven't learnt our lesson. I mean, that's not the where they're going with this. Game-changing drugs restored some peace of mind. Now I can have sex with all the anonymous men that I want, consequence-free. Oh no, but now monkeypox puts that progress at risk. Last week, I went to my doctor's office for a long-scheduled sexually transmitted infection checkup and started to cry a few minutes into my appointment. Like many gay men, I'm on a daily drug called pre-exposure prophylaxis, or PrEP, which prevents me from being infected by HIV, even if I were to have sex without a condom or use injection drugs. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, generally being in a trusting monogamous relationship with one person who you trust to not have sex with other people tends to keep you safe from almost all STDs, as far as I'm aware.
But that's outrageous, Harry. You're suggesting people just have loving relationships. What's wrong with you?
I know, it's terribly reductive of me. At 44 years old, I am of the generation who knew about AIDS before we even knew about sex. From childhood, I conflated sexuality and fear. PrEP was a game changer in taking that fear away. Dude, when I was growing up, I conflated sexuality with fear to a certain extent because all of the videos they showed us in primary school were don't have sex or you get pregnant, don't have sex or you get pregnant, you might get AIDS and die. It's not just something that's explicit for particular communities. But last week, HIV was very much not on my mind, and almost as soon as the physician's assistant closed the door, I burst into tears. The PA very sweetly talked me through my feelings and told me that he didn't think I had monkeypox, but we could do a test if I wanted. He also kindly, but very firmly, told me not to feel bad about feeling bad. We're all on the edge, he said. Him, me, every gay man we both knew. It's been a lot for all of us. I realised in that moment how lucky I am to have a gay doctor's office to my body, to take my body and my feelings seriously, and realised how angry I was that for the third time in my life, a viral pandemic was dictating my sex life, shaping my professional life, messing with my head, and keeping me from experiencing intimacy.
You could have given me any random 3 words from the article and I'd know it was The Guardian.
You really could.
People crying and other people saying it's okay, it's all good. Like, this is all happening in a GP.
Talking about people's bodies rather than them as individuals. Yeah, exactly. It's just ridiculous. And also the idea that it's implying that intimacy is something only physical rather than metaphysical and emotional as well. The intimacy of having a quiet night in with your significant other and just watching a movie. I mean, that just seems to be completely alien.
Netflix with no chill.
Exactly. Just I just listen, love. Daredevil is a really good show, and you need to watch it. That's the only thing that's intimate about tonight, love. And if you don't pay attention to the action scenes, I will judge you.
And also, try not to fall asleep immediately. You know what I mean? How women immediately fall asleep when you watch a film. Is this? Am I crazy?
No, this happened recently. I watched for the first time ever. What was it? It wasn't Pale Rider. It was one of the other Clint Eastwood.
High Plains Drifter.
Yes, High Plains Drifter. I watched it for the first time just a few weeks ago. I was enthralled the whole way through. And the missus was there, literally falling asleep, and I'm there. Do you not understand what you're missing? Do you not get the tension? Oh, it's
Clint.
Boring though. Do you not understand Clint's desperate stare?
That's an instant breakup for me. If you criticise Clint Eastwood, gone.
Well, I mean, it's been 5.5 over that years now, so
right.
you know.
I'm single, so this may be a difference in approach.
Perhaps, or perhaps I'm just in the sunk cost fallacy at this point. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? But anyway, this is all very, very much in contrast to the response that everybody got during COVID, where it's reductive to tell gay men to not have sex, but at the same time, 2 years ago now. Canada was advising people that having safe sex will be involving glory holes. You must use the glory hole to have safe sex.
Yes,
or just avoid it altogether.
That's when it was all the bad people as well, the straight white people and so on.
Like you and I.
Yeah, we should use a little hole.
I can hear the fanfic scribbling right now.
Just watching Netflix through a little hole in the wall.
Yeah, and then as well, the funniest bit and the biggest bit of hypocrisy on the whole thing, even though these people don't understand hypocrisy, well, they recognise that it exists, but still, is the Daily Mail pointed out that Gavin Newsom declared monkeypox a state of emergency in California despite the fact that they're still allowing, which they wouldn't have allowed 2 years ago for COVID, a gay leather kink festival to go ahead.
You say they wouldn't have allowed it, but that was the other great exemption, wasn't it? The BLM riots.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The height of COVID, it was suddenly like, yeah, but it's okay to go out and riot, guys. And the hypocrisy and the insanity there, that's when you realise the left don't really believe any of this. You know what I mean?
Of course not. They believe in power.
Right. Either they don't believe anything they said about COVID, or because they live in a purely semantic world, they couldn't conceive of the difference between their political concepts and an actual illness. You know what I mean? Like, what did they think? I think they just thought they knew that COVID wasn't really that serious, and they just said, go out and riot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it just demonstrates, like I say, that it is purely about power. It's the power to tell everybody else that they're not allowed to do something while you blatantly throw it in their face that you're doing that exact thing. It really demoralizes a society, which we are definitely seeing.
Yeah, I watched one comedian talking to another comedian about it, and one guy said, it was Mark Norman, he said, yeah, it seemed a bit strange how, we weren't supposed to go out, but suddenly you could go out and march for BLM. He was sort of just softballing it. He knew full well it was terrible. He was going, it seemed a bit weird to me. And the other comedian goes, oh yeah, but that just shows how passionate they were that they went out anyway. I was like, really? That's what you've gone with?
Oh, this is what we're going with, yeah.
Never watching you again, you shill. That's disgusting.
That's the right response. But, so, seeing as they can get away with this, the lesson that I seem to have learned is that if there is ever a pandemic again and we're worried about personal liberties and also, just general civil liberties, the traditions that we're built on, just being able to go outside and have a nice day, really. If we're worried about that, we should just say we're all gay. And then, so technically, whatever disease is coming up is only affecting gay people. And then say we're being marginalised if public health officials try and lock us down. Problem solved, lads. Problem solved.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this premium article on how the Russian establishment views the Ukraine conflict, with a audio track for silver and gold tier members. If you want to find out what else we're putting out on the website, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.